Hi, I'm Chief Petty Officer Gerald Martin of the HMS Wolverine, DD-88 of the 3rd Fleet of the Royal Manticorian Navy, the official fan club of David Weber and the Honorverse. I'm here with Duchess Luton Vale, otherwise known as Sharon Rice-Weber.
Hi.
And she is, well, I guess introduce yourself.
Well, okay. I've been married to David Weber for 16 and a little while years. I've known him for about 6 years before we married. So I've been there from the beginning.
What's it like, we're going to kind of, I guess, just jump right into the questions.
Okay.
What's it like being married to a best-selling author?
Overwhelming at times, a little intimidating. He's a very smart man, so it's kind of hard to keep up with him sometimes, but it's been a lot of fun. We've done a lot of things that we never thought we would ever do. We've done a red carpet $1,000 plate dinner, which was pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
We've gone traveling a lot, seen places, seen countries that we never thought we would ever see, much less get invited to, and met a lot of really cool, neat people along the way.
That's awesome. Yeah, I heard. In fact, I hear you guys have got a Poland trip coming up soon.
We do. We're going to Vancouver, Canada, early October, and then we're doing HonorCon at the end of October, and we're going to be home for about 2 days before we leave to go back to Poland. And we'll be there about a week, and then we'll take the train down to the Czech Republic and spend about a week there.
I'll refrain from making the same "check please" joke I made in David's interview.
Okay.
I can only reuse tired jokes, but so much.
So many times.
Well, now you said you've been married to David for 16 years.
16.
What tips do you have for people in the feeding and watering of an author?
Of an author. A lot of patience. Be understanding and supportive. You have to understand that they are creative people. And creative people can not always be the easiest to live with. Now, before we married, David is what I call a night writer. He works at night, he works in the evening. He enjoys that quiet time in the middle of the evening, the middle of the night, and he still writes a lot at night. So you have to be understanding that they're not going to be there every minute of every day that you might expect them to be, since they work out of the house. But at the same time, it's neat because he can be there when he has to be there, when he needs to be there. And that's been a positive. But
Well,
it's a little hard sometimes working around it.
I can imagine. You know, I can only imagine what if, you know, working from home. I know is a luxury as well as a curse.
It is.
Are there any difficulties in the working from home?
Sure. I mean, he gets interrupted. You know, the phone rings, or the kids need something, or the car breaks down and he has to, you know, go pick me up, or, you know, just life that happens to everybody. But when you're at work, you're kind of separated for, you know, for those 8 hours you're over here doing your job, you know. And if you're in the house, then you really can't separate yourself to, you can isolate yourself to a little bit, but it's still going to happen, and it's still right there. And, you know, if your 5-year-old daughter comes in and says, "Daddy, I need to talk to you," or "I'd like to talk to you," or are you going to tell her, "No, I'm working"? So, you know. So
balancing family and life and work becomes a little bit more challenging when you're working out of the house.
It does. And it's gotten a lot easier now that he has the separated office. That, I think, helped more than anything, because, you know, it's a lot harder for me to run downstairs and interrupt him, or the kids to run downstairs and interrupt him. He's not, you know, the house phone isn't going to be ringing in his office. It's more isolated, so he does get that a little bit more of that one-on-one time that he needs with his computer. This is Seamus.
Hi, Seamus. I see you guys have a lot of animals. We touched on this briefly with David, but I take it animals play a very large part in your lives?
When I married David, he had two dogs then that were very much his dogs. We have rescued, gosh, a bunch. All 3 cats that we have right now are rescues. And we're down to 4 dogs now, and of those 4, 2 were rescues. And 2 were bred to be service animals, but they failed the test. They didn't have the temperament. And so our purchasing of those 2 helped to train the other ones that were better suited for that. So we felt like that was a worthwhile investment too. So.
Do you feel like the animals, I guess, help in the writing environment? Do they?
I think they do. David's always had, a lot of pets around, as have I. But his 3-cat Nimitz was actually built off of 2 of his cats that he actually had before he started writing the HonorCon. So he's always had a bunch around, and so have I. And we feel that's important to our mental health and well-being. So
I was about to say, what tips do you have for the mental health for both the spouse of an author and for the author themselves?
Well, patience is always good. Both as a spouse and as a writer, David likes to write in big chunks of time. He likes to really get in there, get in the mood, get in that mind field, and really work in big chunks of time. And like I said before, that can be a little intimidating to a spouse, looking around and not seeing your spouse for, he's worked 16 hours some days, and you don't see him, and you're like, where is he? Is he still alive out in his office? Maybe I should go get him, And I've actually, gone and bought pizzas and brought them out to him and stuff like that. But patience, I think, is a virtue. Understanding. A lot of love. Love can conquer a whole bunch of things. And realizing that even the spouse has a position in that writing schedule. You have to make sure that they are taking care of themselves, that they are getting the rest and the food and the downtime, because sometimes you just need to pull them out of that book and say, look, you need to spend 10 hours sleeping, sleeping, or 2 hours with your kids, or you need to actually spend some time away from the computer. So, and I think that that's important too, because sometimes they can get wrapped up into it a little too much.
So I guess coming back into that, what input in the writing process do you have input in the writing process, I guess I should say?
David talks a lot about his current project, whatever he's working on. And so if we're gone out to a lunch, or if the kids are, in school and it's just the 2 of us at dinner or lunch or whatever, I'm hearing all about what's happening in the book, what's going to happen in the book, oh my gosh, what's going to happen 3 books from now, because it's all based off of this part over here. So I get a little input that way. Also, he has had me read like specific scenes. Does this work? Is this working? Is this moving? Is this what I'm trying to get across? This is a female's viewpoint. How do you as a female react to this? You're crying. I guess I got it across. So, is it that touching? And so, yeah, I have input. He's actually asked me some questions about different things that he's maybe not as knowledgeable about, but I am. So he does ask my input.
Well, that's awesome.
And I have to throw this out.
Sure.
Okay. Back when David was first, we met at a bookstore.
Sounds like a good place for couples to meet.
Go figure, especially writer couples.
Mm-hmm.
And he came in and he said, I've written a book, Well, if you work in a bookstore, that's kind of like a pretty common pickup line. but he actually had, and he had already sold it to Bain Books. And so I actually opened the box that his first book was shipped in, and I probably bought the first one ever because I bought it before we were supposed to put it out on the shelf.
Oh, awesome.
And I gave him his first autographing ever at my bookstore, and I got him invited to his first convention here in town ever as a professional writer, and got him invited back the next year even. So.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So, you know, I had a little touch at getting him started. He would have been an awesome writer no matter what, but I feel like I kind of
nudged him a
little. So.
Well, you brought up conventions. Do you guys, I know that you guys have a very busy convention schedule this year, and you're settling down some next year, but what do you enjoy about going to conventions?
Well, like I said before, I really enjoy meeting the people. There's very few people, especially in the TRMN, that I've met that I didn't like. They're really cool folks. They're very protective of David and his writing. They really want, you know, to take care of him. And I enjoy that aspect. You know, we're people. We like to talk to people. We'll talk to anybody about anything. I like getting the feedback on what's working and what's not, and David does too. I like being able to talk to... David is a big guy, and David is a big guy. He's a little overwhelming at times. He's a big guy with just a big personality, and sometimes, especially in the geek nerd community, he can be just terrifying to some people. And I'm not. And a lot of people will come up and they ask me questions and they say, you know, that's David Weber. That's the David Weber. And I'm not. So they'll come and talk to me, and usually I can get them to kind of, well, let's ask David and go over. And I really feel good when they start feeling comfortable enough to start talking to him on their own, and, you know, that I can help them get over that shyness or awkwardness and actually start talking to somebody that they've really put on that pedestal a little bit and really, you know, admire.
So you're kind of a fan liaison to a certain extent.
Yeah, a little bit. I try to be at least.
So beyond being, you know, fan liaison and, you know, wife and supporter of the author, I understand that you also handle some of the business arrangements. What's that like?
Well, we just lost our personal assistant at the beginning of June, and she had taken over for me a lot of the same thing. I had been doing it about 6 years ago, and my mother's health really deteriorated, and I couldn't handle booking the conventions and booking the signings and dealing with all the correspondence and everything like that, and deal with my mom's illness as well. So Gina Robinson, she was Gina Smith back then, took over and did a whole lot better job, I like to say, than I did. And then we lost her at the beginning of June. She's doing a fantastic job in her jewelry business.
Oh, fantastic.
Moonkiss Designs, okay? Moonkiss. But anyway, so I took it back over. So I'm doing the bookings and autographings and travel arrangements and pretty much all of that again. And it's been a little overwhelming with the surgeries and everything, but we're hanging in there and swinging and doing what we can. And you know, sometimes there's some days absolutely nothing's happening, and then you're planning the trip to Poland.
Yeah.
So
I can understand that. What really in your time so far? What's been your favorite thing, or the one thing that stood out for you the most?
About
just in general, between living and working with David, going to the conventions, meeting the fans. What's been has there been an event that's happened that's been really special to you? Or?
Well, I think, like I said, I think the traveling has been really, really cool, and meeting such neat people. But being married to David has been the biggest joy so far, and that and the kids. I mean, I had kind of given up that I would be married, much less have kids, and I've got three. We have three fantastic, wonderful, smart, beautiful kids that just are just the biggest blessing. And just knowing David, I mean, he is a fantastic person, and he's a fantastic dad, great husband. Sometimes I want to kill him, like any other spouse, but you know.
Please don't before the next few books are
okay. I can be bribed, but I think just knowing him, it has made this whole journey happen in the first place. It's made this whole thing happen and work, and we have done so many things that, my family was from a little mill village here in Greenville, and I was the first to go to college, first to graduate from college, Furman University, and there are things that I never thought I would ever, I would never see Poland. I'd never see the Czech Republic. I'd never see, I'd never even know a New York Times best-selling author, much less, be married to him, and everything associated with that. And he is just a really cool guy. So.
Well, oh man, I mean, we've been through a lot of questions so far. Is there anything really that anything that I haven't asked that you wanted to talk about? Anything that comes to mind?
I know that David loves the feedback from the fans. He really does. He wants to know what the fans are thinking, how they like his books or not. And I also think, though, that sometimes the fans don't realize David is a very prolific author. He puts out between 4 and 6 books a year. And most authors get one out. So, and his fans are always like, write more, write faster, write more, write faster. And he really is killing himself trying to keep up with all the demands.
I understand that.
So, but other than that, I mean, it's been wild, it's been fun, and David is really humbled at times that people find his stuff so appealing, that people are wanting to read his books, people are willing to read, people pay to read his books, and he's still like, when we got a note just this past week about how a fan was really touched and moved by some of the stuff that he had written, and David's like, this is what I think of when I think of the people who influenced me.
Yeah.
And to realize that he's influencing people now himself, I think is very touching and moving.
Well, I guess I know you've got 3 children, and I know that you're a reader yourself. Do you have any recommendations for reading? Because of course I know you read all of David's work, so that goes without saying. But do you have your own reading list, or list of books you recommend for people?
There's a couple of authors that I follow kind of closely. I love C.J. Cherry, Carolyn Cherry. I love her Foreigner series right now. I think even her bad stuff is fantastic. So I love her. I love everything she's written. I'm a big Jim Butcher fan.
The Dresden Files.
The Dresden Files.
And have you read Codex Alert?
Yeah, I love those too. I was a little slow getting into those, but I really enjoyed them once I bit the bullet and got into them. And I have to say, the first Dresden File I read, the cover just really kind of didn't impress me. Let's see, Stormfront, I think, was the first one. And the cover art, I just thought, oh, this is just such a boring cover. It's going to be a boring book. I know, never judge a book by its cover, but people do, and I'm very guilty of that. And so it took me a little while to actually, and a friend recommended, said, you should read that one. And once I got into them, I was really hooked. So another author I like, Chelsea Quinn Yarborough. her Saint Germain, all about vampires.
Oh, okay. Not one I've heard of before.
If you're a historian, she studied at the Sorbonne, and
Nice.
she is very meticulous in her histories. And usually the monster in the piece is not the vampire.
I'll have
So,
to check her out. Mom will like her too.
very, very cool stuff. But those are my big three. Historically speaking, Andre Norton, love her. She was such a nice lady. Annie McCaffrey, another fantastic writer who we're a little worse for not having around anymore. And a few others, but those are the biggies.
What are your kids reading right now?
Two of them are reading Tree Cat Wars.
Oh, awesome.
Or Fire Season, I'm not sure which.
So the Stephanie Harrington young adult series.
Yeah. Morgan finished all 3 books, and Michael and Megan are both reading the second one or the third one, I'm not sure which now. So that's what they're reading. They had some summer reading for school, and they finished that up. And so
Awesome.
they're...
Oh, it's nice to see they're getting into their dad's universe as well.
Well, I wanted them to... they're old enough now that people are starting to ask them a little bit about it, and I want them to understand what it is their dad does, and to understand the appeal, why it appeals to you, for example. You know, what is it about those books, whether it's the Safehold books or the Honorverse or the Multiverse or, you know, the War God's Own, you know, what is it about those books that appeal to people? And they, David and I had both, you know, we had read to them as kids, you know, which I strongly advocate, read to your children. And they were readers, but they had never read anything about their, you know, by their dad. So I really felt like that it was time for them to get to know the universe a little bit, the Honorverse, but to understand what it is Daddy does for a living. So.
I was about to say, it must be interesting being the child of a best-selling author.
It is, and the girls now were born in Cambodia, and Honor is about, gosh, how much older than the girls? And we've already had people ask if Honor was based on the girls, because Honor is Eurasian, and the girls, of course, are Asian. And they have to say no, Honor is older. Honor was 21 this year.
Yeah.
So,
she's old enough to drink.
Old enough to drink. She's legal in almost every quadrant of the galaxy now. So, and the girls will be 13 this year, so they have to say no. But we have had a lot of people who have named kids after Honor.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we've. I know of, let's see, five little girls who are called Honor. A bunch of them are Honor Stephanie, Honor Alice. You know. And
oh, that's awesome.
So, and that's kind of scary on the one hand, but it's kind of cool on the other. So.
Now, what's I know you guys have got a busy rest of your year. What's the schedule coming up? I know you've got Dragon Con.
Dragon Con is at the end of this month.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Dragon Con, and then I think we're free until Vancouver, and that's VCon 39, I believe it is, in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and then HonorCon will be Halloween weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of fun, always lots of costumes and stuff. And like I said, we'll be home about 2, maybe 3 days before we head out to Poland. Head down to the Czech Republic. We'll be home about a week before Thanksgiving. And then in January, we started all over again.
Man, you guys have got a busy schedule.
We've got 5 cons next year too. So, and that's 2015. 2016, I think I have 1 con booked, and I don't remember it right off the bat. 2017, we're doing MystiCon. But also in 2016, theoretically, the movie will be out that year, and if not, then maybe 2017. So that would be something else that's...
tour schedule for you guys all
yeah, we're at tours.
Imagine.
And I think David has a book signing tour next year, but I'm not sure. We haven't planned all that yet.
Well, I hope we can get you up in the Lynchburg, Virginia area.
Yeah. Somebody asked me the other day on Facebook, they were like, do you ever do Australia? Do you ever come down under? And I'm like, well, we haven't been invited, so...
Invite us, pay
invite
for
us,
us,
buy us a ticket, and we're there, We've done England, we've done Canada, we've been to Ireland, and we will travel just about anywhere. People will pay for us to come. But
half paycheck, we'll travel.
Half paycheck, we'll travel. But David, especially, there's a big fan base in the Czech Republic under y'all, and those guys are just awesome. They're very into the uniforms, almost like TRMN, but kind of a subset. And they are awesome, awesome people. And we really enjoy going to other countries and meeting. When we had HonorCon here last year, we had at least one guy from Australia. We had a couple of the Czech fans come over. We had several down from Canada and several from Great Britain.
Oh, that's awesome!
So they're willing to travel to see us, and we're willing to travel to see them. And
well, that's fantastic. It sounds like you guys have had a lot of fun so far, and a lot more fun to come.
I hope.
Well, do you have any last parting words for us? Any words of wisdom? Witty sayings?
No, not really. Just I hope that people enjoy reading David's books as much as he enjoys writing them. We have a good time. We enjoy the people. We enjoy the dogs.
Well, I stopped petting you, didn't I?
Yes.
Yes, you're a sweetheart.
That's Shaughnessy, by the way.
And so are you. Sweetheart as well. Thank you very much for doing the interview.
Oh, no problem.
On behalf of the TRMN, I'm Chief Petty Officer Jerry Martin. This has been the Duchess Luton Vale, otherwise known as Sharon Rice-Weber. Thank you very much for the interview. We appreciate it.
Thank you.